All right, so today we're going to dive into something that's it really got people talking, all these rumors and analysis about Aaron Rodgers maybe going to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025.
Oh, yeah. This is a big one.
It is a big one, and we've got this YouTube video here. It's called Chris Canty Breaking. Aaron Rodgers eventually lands with Steelers after Jameis Winston signs Giants.
Right.
So we're going to kind of go through the arguments they're making, try to figure out what the real core issues are here, and give you the inside scoop.
I think that's a great way to put it. I mean, this video, it gives us a really interesting look at what people are thinking and speculating about right now. It's not just, will it happen, but why would it happen, and what would it mean?
Right, exactly. And they start off with this really intriguing detail, Apparently, Rodgers spent like 6 hours meeting with the Steelers in Pittsburgh on a Friday.
Wow.
I know, right? Like, that seems serious, right?
Yeah.
Like, both sides committing that much time. But here's the thing. No deal came out of it. No agreement,
Yeah, that is interesting.
And one of the speakers in the video even says, why wouldn't they have just gotten it done that day? Maybe Rodgers doesn't want his big news to get lost, in the Friday afternoon news dump.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, for a player like Rodgers, how he announces things, it matters.
Exactly.
Maybe Friday afternoon wasn't the right stage for him or for the Steelers, but also, 6 hours is a long time, but maybe it wasn't all about, hammering out the contract. Maybe it was more about, talking about their philosophies, making sure they're on the same page.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into a deal like this.
Right. It's not just about the money. It's about the fit, too.
Absolutely.
Now, when they ask the folks in the video, gut feeling, is this going to happen or not, we get two different takes. One guy's like, sure, pretty confident. And the other one's like, well, it's about as certain as Rodgers playing in 2025, which, with Rodgers, who knows?
Right. There's always that uncertainty with him.
Always. And you look back at his career, he's always kind of done things his own way,
Definitely. He likes to be in control of his own narrative, you could say.
Exactly. So maybe these guys are just trying to figure out, does this make sense? Or is Rodgers going to do something totally unexpected?
I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. Trying to reconcile what seems logical with how Rodgers has operated in the past.
Right. And that leads to the big question, the million-dollar question. If he does go to Pittsburgh, does he make them a Super Bowl contender?
Right. Can he take them all the way?
And one of the speakers in the video, he's pretty skeptical. He's like, look at Rodgers the last 3 seasons. Look at the Steelers. They always make the playoffs, but they don't get very far.
They can't seem to get over that hump.
Exactly. And he's like, I'd love to see vintage Rodgers throwing to DK Metcalf. That would be amazing.
Oh, man. Can you imagine?
But can you count on that? Especially after his Achilles injury with the Jets?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, we're not talking about 5 years ago. We're talking about now.
Right. And this guy's point is just because you add a big-name quarterback, it doesn't mean you're automatically a Super Bowl team.
You need the whole team to be working. You need the right pieces in place.
Exactly. And then the video lays out these 2 scenarios for the Steelers in 2025 with Rodgers.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Scenario A, they make the playoffs and win 1 playoff game.
Okay.
So basically what they've been doing.
Okay. Not bad, but not a Super Bowl.
Exactly. And then scenario B, Mike Tomlin has his first losing season ever.
Whoa, that would be a huge shock.
I know, right? And the speaker's like, I can't believe Rodgers is taking so long to decide because all the quarterback openings were already obvious.
Yeah.
The Vikings, the Giants, the Steelers, the Browns, they all needed quarterbacks.
Yeah, it is kind of strange, isn't it? I mean, if you know where you want to go, what are you waiting for?
Right. And it's different from when he went to the Jets. He said on Pat McAfee's show back in March that he wanted to play for them, even though the trade took a while to happen.
Right. So he was very public about it.
Very public. But this time it's radio silence. We have no idea what he's thinking.
That's a really interesting contrast, isn't it? I mean, with the Jets, it was like, boom, this is happening. But now it's very quiet, very deliberate.
Right. Maybe the Jets experience made him think twice.
Yeah.
That it didn't really work out for him there.
Yeah, maybe he's being more cautious now, more careful about where he ends up.
And this leads to a kind of uncomfortable thought. What if the Steelers are his second choice?
Oh, like a consolation prize?
Exactly. And the speakers in the video, they're like, are the Steelers going to get Rodgers, who's just settling, after what happened with the Jets?
That's a tough one to swallow if you're a Steelers fan.
It is. And it makes you wonder, what's his motivation? Is he just trying to win? Or is it something else,
Does he have something to prove? Is he trying to rebuild his image?
Right. And then the video goes back to the big question, What is he waiting for?
What is he waiting for?
And they're like, look, the Steelers are a good team. They don't have losing seasons. They make the playoffs. They have Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin, come on.
I know, right? One of the most respected coaches in the league. And they've got DK Metcalf now.
That's a pretty attractive package.
It is. It's way better than what he had with the Jets.
So why isn't he jumping at it?
Exactly. There's got to be something else going on. Maybe he's worried about the offensive line or something.
Or maybe he just likes having all the power, you know?
No, you mean because the Steelers seem so focused on him?
Exactly. If they've made him their #1 target, he can kind of dictate terms, you know?
Like he's got all the leverage.
Exactly. He can take his time, see what's out there, maybe get a better deal.
And then they come back to those two scenarios again.
Yeah.
You know, one playoff win or a losing season.
So which way are they leaning now?
One of them actually thinks Tomlin's going to have a losing season.
Wow, that's a bold prediction.
It is. And I think it's because they're worried about Rodgers' health. And you know what? If he's not the same guy anymore.
Right. What if he disrupts the team chemistry?
Exactly. And then they start comparing the Steelers roster to the Jets roster.
Interesting.
And they're like, look, the Jets had a lot of talent. They had Garrett Wilson. They had Devontae Adams for a bit. They had Breece Hall.
And a really good defense.
Really good defense. So they're saying the Steelers aren't necessarily a much better team.
So maybe it's not just about the players around Rodgers.
Right. Maybe it's about the coaching. Maybe Mike Tomlin can get more out of him than the Jets coaches could.
That's where Tomlin's reputation comes in. You know, he's known for getting the best out of his players.
Exactly. And they even say they would love to play for Tomlin themselves.
Who wouldn't?
Right. But then it's like, if Tomlin's so great, why is Rodgers still hesitating?
That's the million-dollar question again.
It is. And then they mention that the Vikings are out of the running for Rodgers.
So it's down to the Steelers then.
Seems like it, which makes his delay even weirder. And they end by saying, you know, another quarterback signed a deal that Friday, but it wasn't Rodgers.
So the market is moving, but Rodgers is just sitting there.
I know, right? So many unanswered questions like, why didn't he sign after that meeting? What is he waiting for?
What is he waiting for?
So to recap this whole Rodgers to Pittsburgh thing, it's complicated. There's a lot we don't know. The analysts in the video, they talked about that 6-hour meeting. They talked about Rodgers' recent performance and whether he can still be that guy. They talked about how good the Steelers are and how confusing it is that he hasn't signed yet.
And they compared the Steelers to the Jets, and they talked about Mike Tomlin's influence. So what stands out to you? What are you thinking?
I think the biggest thing is the uncertainty. You know, we just don't know what Rodgers is going to do. Will he go to Pittsburgh? Will he be good if he does? What's his motivation?
And what about the Steelers? Are they making the right move? Are they putting all their eggs in one basket?
It's a gamble for sure.
It is, and it makes you think, you know, does a coach's reputation really matter more than a player's recent performance? Can Mike Tomlin turn back the clock for Rodgers?
Can he get him back to that MVP level?
That's the big question, and it's something to think about. It's that balance between a player's potential and the impact of a great coach.
It's fascinating. Thanks for diving into this with me.
Anytime, this is what we do.
That's right. We'll be back with another deep dive soon.
See you then.
Take care.
You too.